This is the story of the Ozzie and Harriet House Transformed. Welcome back to the Ultimate House. This is session number 2, and we're going to start right off with the master bath, which is where this all started. But first, how about a little tour of the house? It was a nice house, actually about 3,700 square feet. The house, main entry was from this direction. Covered porch here, or covered entryway, with the brick and the plants outside. Entering into the main entry here, a small entryway, which you'll see gets addressed later, into a vaulted living room in here with a bunch of nice doors out to the backyard and kind of an arbor that was oddly attached to the house, as I mentioned before. Over on this side, a powder room, guest powder room there, guest bedroom, a bedroom that you had to walk through the closet to get to the bathroom, actually. Another bedroom. I call it a Jack and Jill bathroom when two bedrooms share a bathroom like that. Coming from the entry and the living room, you would walk down this way, down a long hallway, a den in here, and another long hallway back to the master back here. I think the original home was really about this big, and that corresponds with the gable on hip roof that the house had. Then this looks like it was an addition, another little addition here, and another little addition here. So it's always interesting to see how houses learn, as they say, or expand and grow. Our job was to take some of these little add-ons and consolidate it into something that made sense for the owners at this point, and to pull the house back into a more unified kind of a design. Long hallway down into the master bedroom, and then from the master bedroom you entered the master bath in this direction and continued through to get into the closet. I already showed you the sketch I made for the idea, the concept behind it. This was another sketch which showed what would be the glass walls. We envisioned having frosted or white glass up to this point and then clear up above. Toilet on one side, shower on the other. It actually got switched in the final design. I can't remember exactly why. Something to do with the logistics of the doorways in and out of the bathroom, which were kind of tight. But this is the actual plan that went to the building department, or a detail of that plan. And here you can see what it turned into. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of the old bathroom, but if you can imagine, this was just a regular wall all the way across here. And now we have this glass wall with a shower on one side and a toilet on the other, and a glass wall separating the two. So toilet over here, shower over here, and two windows behind. So it let a lot of light into the bathroom and gave it this sort of jeweled look, which was really pretty. The tile on the floor is a sort of a bluish marble and a basket weave type pattern you can see on the floor here. And then we continued it up along the shower walls on the curb for the shower here in the brick. And all the way around the bathroom was a mosaic tile, which continued at about a chair rail height all the way around. And then that chair rail continued through the shower with the brick tile above. You can see a little bit more detail looking into the shower. Actually, the shower had a spray set up on one side, and then a shower head over here, a window in there. This was actually sealed because it was a steam shower as well as a shower, so that's one of the reasons we put glass all the way up to the ceiling. And here's a detail of the soap niche or shampoo niche. course, we worked with the owners deciding how they wanted this laid out. Big enough for shampoo bottles in here, little soap here, knickknacks up on top. But as you can see, this is a really nicely laid out niche. The marble shelves fit in line with the grout joints, and the running bond pattern of the tile wraps around, and you can see how the pattern continues up and around. And then below the chair rail height, there was a band of mosaic tile from here to here. So I've got a detail, sorry, the picture gets a little blown out, but you can see these are all tiny little pieces. Each mosaic comes in a square sheet, and it's very difficult to get all these little tiny pieces to lay flat and nicely on a flat wall surface, but the effect is really pretty. So the old tub, which was just a standard tub on a tile deck, became a freestanding tub. Really pretty tub. All the fixtures and appliances were picked out by the interior designers, of course, and the window treatments and the tile. But you can see we went with a chrome finish here. The freestanding tub has a freestanding valve for the tub itself, and then the two furniture-like vanities on either side, which you can see here. These are two pictures, so you can get the full view. But his side, I think this was his side, or maybe it was her side, I can't remember. You can see the vanity that was built as a chest with the rectangular sink that sits on top. You can see the tile extending all the way around the room. And on the other side, the vanity was similar but a little bit different with the baskets underneath it, and a slightly different medicine cabinet on this side as well. Some pretty sconces here with sort of a crystal chain design below it. So the bathroom was a big success. Everybody loved the bathroom. Very unique. I've never really seen one which had the glass walls like that. And on to the kitchen. This is the existing plan showing the areas of new construction. So these grayed out areas here are the areas of increased square footage to the house. As I showed you before, this was a little addition that was tacked on, and we sort of enveloped it with these two new spaces. We also did kind of a sneaky thing, grabbing a little bit of space out of the garage, which enabled us to add the little bar and laundry area that they wanted. So the entry to the kitchen is right here. It really couldn't be moved because it was right at the end of this hallway, and on this side is the living room. So we didn't want an entry to the kitchen over here. It gave us sort of a squeezed entry into the kitchen, but you'll see how we handled it. The permitting for this was the standard sort of permitting, nothing too outrageous. Regular planning and zoning, and then building department. But there was a special neighborhood architectural committee, and unlike the New Spanish Home video that I talk about a little area, little 40 home area that had a crazy architectural committee, this was a much bigger neighborhood committee, and they were much better organized, and the restrictions were recognized by the Los Angeles Building Department. So in other words, if you didn't have the neighborhood approval, you could not move ahead with your building department permits. Needless to say, the woman who was in charge of it was kind of a pain in the neck and had no background in architecture or design. but past our project anyway. Once again, here's the kitchen. Certainly a nice kitchen by any standard, beautiful appliances and so forth. But what we did to open it up is create the addition. You can see here this dotted line is the line of the old house. And we used that space to create a much bigger kitchen, bigger and longer kitchen. So the kitchen now incorporates this entire space, and what we have here is a stove over here, fridge over here, and sink over here, creating your classic triangular work pattern. A lovely island sitting area to be right in the kitchen. Also a secondary sitting area, which was this banquette, a built-in bench here and shelves. And then on this side was a long row of storage shelves and a small desk area to work in. We added 2 skylights. You can see these shaded areas. And then the city allowed you to have in your covered parking for 2 cars. In this particular area, you are allowed to have 1 standard parking space, which is measured as 6'8" by 18 feet, and 1 compact space, which is measured as 7'6" by 15 feet. So we rebuilt the end of the garage, and that gave us a little bit of room to add a bar and a laundry room onto our kitchen. So still we have our entry here coming into the kitchen, but now we have a couple little extra spaces that we added on. This room, which used to be, I believe, sort of a maid's room, became a gymnasium, a workout room, and then this room here became a bathroom for the pool area. The pool's out back here, so we built a little bathroom which was also sort of a dressing room for the pool. So here's a bit more of a close-up of the kitchen. One thing that's always important to look at are the traffic patterns. Here's the main cooking area, and here's the main entry into the kitchen. There's a door going out to the backyard this way, so you have a traffic pattern in this direction of people coming in the kitchen and sitting down at the counter. You also have a traffic pattern this way going out. This is the back door, which would take you to the garage. If you have a traffic pattern where people are constantly cutting through the work area, it doesn't make for a very good working kitchen. But because this layout had a nice design of traffic pattern coming through here. Unless you're working in the kitchen, you typically wouldn't walk through that way. It was actually kind of a complicated roof and attachment challenge, adding the new addition onto the old area. This is the existing roof with that little funny addition. This is the main house, so you can see the main gable roof. We call it a gable on hip when you have a short hip on either side. So as I said, I think the original house was this piece. We came over this piece with a new roof, bringing the ridge up much higher, so this roof had a main ridge line down the center here and then sloping in both directions, and then it had a bigger valley connecting the 2 roofs. So here you can see the little addition, and here you can see what a mess it was from above. For some reason they had a little flat piece in here inside this roof, which is definitely something you don't want to have. It means it has to have some sort of drainage inside there. You're directing water into, well, a roof should shed water. Here are some of the elevations and sections. So the east elevation shows the new roof. This is the garage area. This is the gym with the kitchen behind it and the pool bath right here. So you can see this new roof came up to a new ridge. Looking at it from the north side, here is the new ridge beam right here, and the roof line coming down and creating a valley with that main existing roof. This section here is actually as though you were sitting inside the building looking out, so it's flipped. If you're looking in the kitchen, you can see out the doorway, which would be this doorway, and out the windows, and you can see the scissor truss, so that would be standing behind here, and then this is the looking out of the bathroom. Here we see a section coming from the garage across the kitchen. Same elevation and section. You can see here our new roof is supported by a structural ridge beam, and then our kitchen area actually has a false roof here, creating the new cathedral ceiling inside the kitchen. So again, it's sort of a roof inside a roof, and you can see how these scissor trusses fit in just above the windows. And this area up here had room for the heating and air conditioning ducts. And here's what it ended up looking like. So a lot of little parts had to come together here, but this is the bathroom, the pool bathroom. And this is the same ridge beam that we were talking about. So inside the kitchen actually has another roof coming down like this, so that when you're in the kitchen it looks like you have a roof above you. That's what it used to look like, and that's what it was transformed into. So again, you can see that main roof, original roof here, and the scale of it compared to this new roof looks a lot better than that. We were able to get rid of the pool fencing by having fencing around the house as well. And you'll also notice these doors changed here. Everything changed, which was in sort of phase 3, which I'll show you. Okay, so detail on the kitchen. Here are elevations and cabinet plans for the kitchen. The kitchen plan zoomed in. So the first thing we're going to look at is this wall here with the stove or range. We had a big 48-inch Viking range, big 48-inch Sub-Zero refrigerator, which were major components of this kitchen. We had the scissor trusses fitting in at equal intervals. Had another, I believe, a wine fridge or something at this point. This got a little bit rearranged, and these cabinets became large drawers instead of cabinets. But we had high cabinets and glass uppers on the top. And then this section here became an open shelving section above the banquette. So here's how it turned out. Again, you can see how neatly our trusses fit in at equal divisions, coordinating with the range and refrigerator sections. Here are the cabinet or the drawers that we changed it from cabinets to big drawers. You can see the stainless steel countertops we used, and the opening for the the banquette and the built-in bench. What a refrigerator. 48-inch Sub-Zero at the time this had just come out. Restaurant style. They also make one with a glass door here. But just another angle looking at this elevation. The backsplash was white glass. I told you we went crazy with the white glass. The upper cabinets had white glass. We ended up using white glass interior doors throughout the house, all starting from the idea in the bathroom with the white glass. Another direction. As you can see, this was, I believe, an ash. The wood was ash, and it was a distressed, reclaimed wood with a very light finish. At the time, a lot of people were using the chocolatey finish, but you can see this is a different, lighter look. Next elevation we will look at is the other side, the sink side and the island setup. An eat-in counter / island. I think every good kitchen should have some informal place to eat that's out of the way of the kitchen. And this particular eat-in counter, I think, is done really well. The idea was to use this rounded shape here, which is a little nicer than just a long bar. They had a bunch of boys, and as you can see, we were able to sit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people at this curved bar. The countertop has a material, I think it was called Karai board. At the time, it was a new green product. It was a type of product that had a lot of striations and was really pretty. You'll see another place where we used it in the little bar. So we built a maple rail that encased the material, and then we used a resin top so it displayed it, much like you'd see at a bar, a resin top on a bar in a bar. And again, stainless steel countertops with an integral sink, dual dishwashers. That's a new thing these days, dual everything. I built a house where they had dual kitchens. You can see more white glass up here. And the little desk area, TV setup. This TV could rotate so you could see it either from the banquette or from the kitchen. Originally designed as a wall of cabinets, and then we had a little bit of a countertop in here, as well as pantry cabinets on the other side. And then the last elevation we'll look at here is this wall, where I just showed you the little desk area is. So doors leading out to the pool, French doors, the skylights up above, 2 skylights fitting in between, again, the scissor truss sections. A little kitchen working space desk, small desk with TV above, and then more big drawers and storage. This area here actually is a pantry with these doors opened up so you could have broom vacuum type things in, and a bunch of storage, and then this countertop which came through. I think we ended up leaving 1 section or 2 sections open for a little bit more of a working countertop space in there. So here's looking at the eat-in counter from underneath. As a big heavy cantilevered countertop, you need some way to support it, and it needs to be strong. So I designed these steel brackets. These actually have a flat piece underneath them and on top of them that gets bolted to both the counter on the top and the floor joists on the bottom. But as you can see, it's hidden, so all you saw was this nice clean arched line coming from underneath the floor and supporting the arched countertop. I thought it was kind of a cool effect. And we paneled the back side, as you can see. Also, the ceiling is paneled as well. giving the entire room a really nicely fitted jewel box type appearance. Looking back down the kitchen, you can see the little funky little bar space that we fit in with the lime green paint. And you can also see the laundry room, which had these sliding white glass bar doors, more white glass over here. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a wine fridge with white glass. A shot of the built-in banquette with some lively fabric and matching beautiful glass. Here's another shot looking back at the bar area and across the stainless countertops and eat-in counter. So the bar, as I mentioned, was this little slice of a spot that we pulled out of the garage, and has a sink, some cabinets, a little ice maker, and then the laundry room actually had these cool white glass sliding doors that so it could open or close. But here's a better shot of the door, and you can see the material, the Karai material, in this case framed in a stainless steel frame. I like that little bar with the bright green paint as opposed to the white. Looks even better with a jar of lemons. And here's a peek at the laundry room. So you can see how these doors would open, and with all the boys that they had, they were always doing plenty of laundry, so we got those good Whirlpool front-loading machine, washer and dryer, and had a nice space for laundry. So the other little piece of this was the gym. Basically a bunch of a couple of machines and some special machine called a kinesis machine or something that I didn't know about, and the bathroom on the back. So the bathroom, the designers came up with some really pretty tile, floor to ceiling tile, and the round or oval dot tile on the floor, a freestanding sink, and the shower. This became sort of a wet room since it was for the pool area, and we were able to build a drain that sloped this way, so this is all sort of a wet room. There's no curb here as normally would be required, and you can see another piece of glass with a frosted piece on the bottom and a clear piece above. Nice chrome sconces, really looks like an exterior fixture but chromed, and a nice use of industrial kind of a light in here. 2-button toilet, which has 2 different flushes for number 1 and number 2. Nice green feature. And there you have it. That's the kitchen. I'll take you on to phase 3 of the rolling remodel next. If you have any questions, of course, give me a call. See you in the next session.